business standpoint.
Wow, that's genius. I like it. That's genius. Now we tapped this a little bit, and before I let you go, I see that Atlanta does have a new mayor, and the person is younger. And so, what are your thoughts, concerning his leadership role? Because that's a very, very high-profile position.
It is indeed. I'm very supportive of this mayor. He was a city councilman. He won. He had served 2 terms. It's the end of his 2nd term. First time he beat a sitting incumbent in a citywide race. 4 years ago, he had no opposition, and he had his name recognition was low. But he had worked with us on several issues. When I called him, he answered. There was a move to name a park in Atlanta after a Confederate major, right in the center of Atlanta, in the neighborhood where Du Bois lived, where Maynard Jackson lived, where Julian Bond grew up. And so he was quite helpful in that. So we think it's going to be a revolution in Atlanta, akin like when Maynard Jackson was elected in 1973.
Hello, everyone. You are with Urban Interests. I am your host, Angela Matthews. As always, we have great stories today as well as guests. We're going to talk about the famed Josephine Baker and the monument in her honor in Paris, as well as televangelist Mark Lamb. He was founder of Daystar Television. The television network has died of COVID-19. This is a very important story because I do believe he called COVID some type of a sin. And then something happened in the suburbs of Detroit. A shooting happened. 15-year-old high school student. 3 people were killed, including a teacher, and there were several that were injured. Again, here we go with the mayhem of these particular mass shootings. Stay tuned, stay connected. We will be right back with these stories as well as our guest.
Movies, documentaries, TV shows, local, national, and world news. History and culture. No one tells your story better than UIN because we are you. With us, you can become more than a consumer. You become a keeper of the culture. Go to uintv.net. Pick a channel to support and subscribe today. Do it now.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
All right, everyone, let's get to our stories. Josephine Baker has become the first Black woman to symbolically be at the historical Pantheon Monument in Paris. This is absolutely considered to be the highest honor. Here's more on the life of this phenomenal woman.
She was the world's first Black superstar. Edgy, sexy, and hugely talented. Josephine Baker, born and raised in Missouri, became a household name in the 20s, a dancer, singer, and civil rights activist who spent her life breaking down barriers of exclusion, using her talent to make statements like this risque and controversial dance in a skirt made of bananas. Baker's public life made her a wildly popular star. Her private life, much of it spent at this remote French castle, made her a hero. It was her refuge and her family home. Akio Bouillon is Baker's eldest adopted son and grew up here. Did she dance in this?
That's it.
Now a museum showcasing Baker's elaborate costumes and her most prized possessions of all. France's highest military medals, the Legion of Honor and Medal of the Resistance, were awarded for her secret work fighting the Nazis in World War II. Was she a spy?
She was.
She was very brave.
For her, no. She was giving back.
But in the U.S., she said she faced hostility and racism at New York's Stork Club in 1951, ignored for an hour. American actress Grace Kelly saw it all and walked out in solidarity. The future Princess of Monaco and the Queen of the French Cabaret becoming lifelong friends. Prince Albert, Grace Kelly's son, remembers a kind woman.
Her generosity of spirit and of heart really always touched me.
Baker adopted Akio and 11 other children from different countries, races, and religions, calling the family her Rainbow Tribe. But by the late 1960s, Baker was broke. The castle auctioned off, her Rainbow Tribe homeless. Old friend Grace Kelly, now Princess of Monaco, helped Baker sing her way back into stardom. A remarkable comeback. In her 60s, selling out New York's Carnegie Hall, getting a standing ovation in Paris. But just days after her last performance, Baker had a stroke and never recovered. Thousands in France lined the streets for her funeral, buried with full military honors. A symbolic casket entered into the Pantheon. Today, this extraordinary woman making history again.
Oh, what a beautiful story about Miss Josephine Baker. Her remains will stay in Monaco as the family wishes. Televangelist Marcus Lamb, founder of Daystar Television Network, has died of COVID-19. Lamb called vaccine mandates a sin against God, and he allegedly chose to take another type of preventive infection medication, a move not recommended by health experts. Let's take a look at this video.
Turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak.
My goodness, what a sad situation. Well, people, it has finally happened, and it happened here in Michigan. Michigan has joined the club that no one wants to be a member of. A mass shooting took place yesterday in Oxford, resulted in 3 high school students being murdered and about 8 others wounded. This mass shooting taking place, yes, in our own backyard. Let's take a look at this sad story.
Everybody's good? Anybody object? Okay, we're going. Okay, Under Sheriff Mike McCabe, Oakland County Sheriff's Office, for the second briefing. We're going to have another, even more detailed briefing tonight at 10 o'clock at Sheriff's Headquarters in Pontiac on Telegraph. The governor's here, Chief Lyon, retired chief from Waterford, now worked for Rochester Hills Fire Department. Major Childs, Major Snary's here, FBI was here, U.S. Marshal, ATF was here. Just to tell you, some of the departments that have assisted us were the Southfield PD, Troy PD, Bloomfield Township PD, Michigan State Police, Oxford Village, FBI, U.S. Marshal. huge amount of fire departments in Lapeer County Sheriff's Office. So as I told you earlier today, we, about 12:51, we had over 100 911 calls into our dispatch center of an active shooter at the Oxford High School, which is right across the way there. You've all seen it. Deputies responded and within 5 minutes had the suspect in custody. He did not cause any problems. He gave the weapon up. He did have the weapon on him at the time. It was a semi-automatic handgun. He'd fired multiple shots. We have updated information on the number of deceased. It is 3. We have 3 students, a 16-year-old male, a 14-year-old female, and a 17-year-old female. We also have 8 others that were shot in various stages at 3 different hospitals: McLaren Lapeer, McLaren Pontiac, and St. Joe's in Pontiac. The 2 people are currently in surgery, do not have their condition. The other 6 are all in stable condition with various gunshot wounds. The suspect, like I said, 15 years old, student of Oxford High School, lives in the village of Oxford. And if there's, Governor, if you want to say anything, and then I'll take any questions after that.
Well, I just appreciate the quick response of all of our first responders. My heart goes out to the families. This is an unimaginable tragedy. I hope that we can all rise to the occasion and wrap our arms around the families. Not having a lot of information, and so appreciate the work that they're doing to keep us all informed.
We have seen these in other states and other parts of the country. Now it's here. What does that say?
That this is a uniquely American problem that we need to address, but at this juncture, I think we need to focus on the community, the families, supporting all the first responders, including the incredible people at our hospitals that are working so hard to save the lives of those who are fighting for their lives right now.
And I can tell you're so deep, as you should be. You're a mom and you're a human being. You're so deeply affected by this. Talk to us about that.
I think this is every parent's worst nightmare.
Mike,
Every parent's worst nightmare. When the police arrived, the 15-year-old was taken into custody within 3 minutes. Not a shot fired. The shooter turned over his weapon and promptly asked for an attorney. The scene could remind you of Kyle Rittenhouse. However, we will have more on this particular information, so we'll keep you abreast of this story. Very, very tragic. We will take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk with a couple of people about their legacy as well as reparations.
911, what's your emergency? Oh my God, a child just died! Signal 13 involving a child, the medicine route.
It is time to put the guns down. We've had enough. My future.
My future.
My future. Our futures are in your hands. Adults, put the guns down. Wanna play? Sleep.
Walk to school.
Visit my friends. I want to feel safe.
It's time. Time to end gun violence.
Our lives depend on it.
Adults, this is not a request.
We demand that you protect us. Put the guns down. We have hopes. Dreams.
Goals.
Don't let a split second of anger with someone else take away my entire lifetime.
Help us live. Help us thrive.
Help us build a better future.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
All right, everyone, you are still with Urban Interest. Listen, we're going to dive into a conversation about the Ahmaud Arbery case, as well as, did you know that Atlanta has a new mayor? We'll talk about that too, because we have a very important guest, phenomenal guest with us today. We have Mr. Richard Rose, who is president of the Atlanta NAACP. Mr. Rose, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for taking some time with us. So listen, let's just dive into the conversation, okay?
Okay.
Let's talk about the Ahmaud Arbery case. The courts convicted the murderers. I think a lot of us are truly shocked about it. And it's crazy because we was probably thinking the opposite, hoping that it wouldn't happen, but we didn't want to be disappointed. And so what type of sentencing or sentence will they get with regards to this case?
Well, the convictions were for felony murder and malice murder on the main defendant, which was Travis McMichael. And I like to call it the McMichael case because Ahmaud Arbery was not on trial. Who's on trial is really the justice system. And, you know, they had a hard time even getting arrests. They had 3 South Georgia district attorneys passed on it, you know, set them free, say, hey, this is nothing good. And they just killed a black man, so this is nothing. And it took the state attorney general, after much publicity, including when the video got, cell phone video got released, accidentally, I understand. Somehow we got a hold of it. And we posted it on our Facebook page. Then Sean King picked it up, and then, you know, it started ramping up the publicity. But of course, you know, we know there is no such thing as equal justice in America. That's one of the founding mission objectives of the NAACP was equal justice, and so we were doubtful. We had confidence in the prosecution would do their best, but they had 11 whites and 1 black on the jury. And we had reason to be concerned. We have seen those jurors, you know, Emmett Till, the Birmingham bombings. I mean, we have seen this over and over again. It's an old play with a bad ending, and we just were hopeful. But it gives us hope that, and I think the prosecution did a good job of presenting it, not as a racial issue, but just as an issue of these men had no right to stop him. But it also points out the depths of white supremacy in America, where these white men felt that they had the right to tell a black man to stop and he should submit. That tells us how deep white supremacy is in our society and the work that we still have to do moving forward.
Now, you know, Mr. Rose, you said something that was vitally important, that these white men felt as though they had the right to stop a black man and that he should have submitted. It's very grievous, to be honest with you, that we're still talking about this. And we're always fighting for this, fighting for that. And it's just never ending with us as Black Americans.
Well,
and it gets tiresome.
Yeah, that's because the fight still goes on the other side. You know, part of the narrative of white supremacy was never good enough to say, we're white people, we should be superior. The same time they were saying blacks are inferior, you are lazy, you are oversexed, you are shiftless, you're broke, you're ignorant, you're uneducated. And so Confederate monuments continue those narratives all over the country. And so when government submits a posit, then a lot of people adopt it. Government has said whites should be superior and black people are inferior. And we have built all of these monuments, which are political statements, to reinforce that. So all this time we've been marching, we've been suing, we've been voting. The opposite, the narrative of white supremacy has been promoted continuously. Georgia is home to the largest shrine of white supremacy in the history of the world. And unless we, you know, reparations, which comes to the word repair, reparations must start with changing government to get out of the white supremacy business.
So Mr. Rose, I mean, so let's drop an anchor right there, that the government must get out of the white supremacy business. Really, will that happen? Because we've got, I mean, with the past administration, we saw they came out in droves, and they are heads of big corporations and companies, billion-dollar companies and entities. They're also in government. They are prosecutors, they are attorney generals, they're judges. And some of them are, antiquated, and some of them are young with this supremacist thought in mind. So can that really happen?
It can only happen if we rise up and have a new revolution. When I first made a statement, the Atlanta NAACP made a statement about Confederate monuments, and we had a big press conference at the SCLC headquarters here in Atlanta. And afterward, I received a lot of phone calls at the NAACP office. One in particular was a polite man, and I had steeled myself for another tongue lashing, another vitriolic call. But this guy says, he was polite. He said, Mr. Rose, he said, I'm a white guy. And what y'all have to understand is that the Civil War never ended. We have to understand that the Civil War never ended. The hostility between soldiers in blue and soldiers in gray, that ended in April or somewhere in 1865. But the fight against Blacks as equal citizens in America has never ended. And we have to understand that. We cannot be silent. Silence gives consent. We have to be activists in voting, in speaking out, in the streets, like in the summer of 2020 that showed us. We have to continue to fight against these policies. Unfortunately, some of these policies are carried on by Black politicians. And so we have to stop that. In Atlanta, we just had a mayoral election, and a previous mayor had run, did not make the runoff, because in Georgia you have to win 50% plus another vote to win. But his policies were straight out the white supremacy playbook. And so we have to understand where we really are. Just because a Black face is in that office doesn't mean that the policies will change. We must change the policies.
All right, now I just heard you say something, and I will agree with you personally. I will agree that we have people, Black men and women, who get into these particular offices, these leadership roles, and then they succumb to, I guess, the pressures, or maybe there was a hidden agenda just to get to where you want it to be. And so the real agenda come forth. And so, Mr. Rose, we're talking about Amy Geiger and Derek Chauvin, as well as these three murderers. So are things turning a corner in your particular viewpoint, perspective?
I wouldn't say there's a turning the corner. I think it's, I think there is room, excuse me, to be encouraged by some of these actions, but we must remain vigilant. We cannot relax. It is the duty of the oppressed to resist, and we must resist. I think that the progression of oppression is complicated, but you can boil it down. The first reaction to oppression is resistance. The second one is acknowledgement. This is where I am. How do I escape? How to get off this ship, how to get off this plantation. The third is acceptance, where the oppressed class accepts the oppression as normal. And that's where most Black people have been. When I was a child in Memphis, all over the South, theaters had colored entrances. So you would pay the same money and go up the back steps and climb 6 flights of stairs to watch the movie. My family, we did not go. You have to decide. I refuse to be mistreated. Well, normalcy, it became so normal for people that they have just accepted as a way. Oh, this is the way it's always been. You're right. It's always been racist. And unless we change the dynamics of these institutions, then we are buying into the same racism.
Well, Mr. Rose, one of the ways that we do change the dynamics of these institutions is that we come out and vote.
Absolutely.
not only in the big election when there's a president, but our local elections. And all across this nation, there's low voter turnout in the local elections. So how do we get people, to change their mindset about participating in local elections and how much more important they are than the presidential election?
So two of the strongest emotions that come from sustained oppression are anger, obviously, but also apathy, where people have really given up. Black people have said, okay, no matter what I do, I'm not going to get out of this bad economic situation. I will still be oppressed. I still have to be pulled over for driving while black. We have to reject the apathy of oppression and encourage people to vote. We have the same thing. Less than 25% of the voters in Atlanta voted in this last election, November 2nd and runoff on November 3rd. You are right. And interestingly enough, I had a conversation with two young black men last night at a restaurant about voting. One said, why would I vote? And the question is, why wouldn't you vote? What we've done in Atlanta, we've partnered with a coalition, the Coalition for the People's Agenda, which is another grassroots organization we work with. We commissioned a study done by the Howard University Political Science Department to understand, to survey non-voters or low propensity voters, black voters, and try to understand what are the reasons that they don't vote. And so we will turn this into a campaign. When we looked at voting instructive policy practices from the 60s, it was 4 steps: voter education, voter registration, voter education again, and voter mobilization. This is where we still are. And it's more black men versus black women. Black women usually turn out. Black men, I guess, black men have the most interaction with the justice system, from tickets, from automobile tickets to pulling over to, what are you doing, through the criminal justice system. And so we have the most to lose, but with the apathy, I think, has made us have taken away our pride and taken away our self-worth, taken away what we need to go and vote. Because the two objectives of oppression are degradation and deprivation. Degrade you, take away your self-worth, and take away your resources and access to resources. That oppression, the campaign of oppression, has worked.
My goodness. So we're seeing, though, a rise up in millennial leadership. We are seeing our young people, both male and female, who are, stepping up and becoming part of the, political landscape. Some may come with traditional, platforms or agendas, and then there are the others that are non-traditional and may be considered more progressive and out of the box thinking, so to speak, because it's not politics as usual. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think that's true. Even in Atlanta yesterday, we had 3 young people, mid-30s or less, who won city council seats. 2 of them defeated older black women who had become what I call the nod squad. They just went along with everything that was presented to them. And so that's a great move. And we have to move those people out who have given up the fight, who have decided that this is okay. Sitting on the back of the bus is okay. Going up the side of the building, to the theater is okay. Going around the back to the restaurant is okay. No, it's not okay. And so we really have to depend on these young people to bring us out, because it was, decades ago, it was young I was a young person who defied the system, who defied the status quo, because the status quo will not change unless it is made to feel discomfort. Only then will there be change.
You're absolutely right about that. When you make folks uncomfortable with the possibility of losing their title, position, and level of living, then let's just sum it up. Money talks and everything else is out the window, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. Money and power.
Money and power, you're
and
right
power
about that.
Gets money.
Yes, you're right about that. So let's kind of segue back to the case, because I want to talk a little bit about it, and then I want to wrap it up with you. And you did mention that the prosecutor kept race out of the case and to get the conviction. And so with that, does this let white people off the hook, and let them ignore, the racial dynamics, that the race wasn't brought into that particular case? What are your thoughts on that? Because we know race was at the center and at the core, but the conviction came not from the racial standpoint.
Right. Well, no, we can't let white folks off the hook. But again, unless we attack the undergirdings of white supremacy, we will not make much progress because government still promotes white supremacy. Remember, there were 13 military installations are named for Confederate military leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is that? What is the message there? At Camp Lejeune, which is the training ground, the training facility for Marine Corps, what does that say? Fort Bragg, Fort Gordon, Fort Benning, Fort Jackson, Fort Lee, all of these. So unless we have to start from scratch and say, all of this is wrong before we can make progress with the general population. Government must get out of the white supremacy business and repudiate racism, repudiate white supremacy in order for the populace to follow.
Now, Mr. Rose, and I'm just going to take just a little bit of a devil's advocate, so to speak. So you got someone in the particular race, and they're thinking, I have been supreme all this time, and so to lose that, or have the thought of losing that, truly scares, white people.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why. So in Georgia and other southern states, there were laws passed to restrict access to voting. And the reason is because of what we were able to do in 2020. In essence, what they were saying is, we're going to teach you Negroes about voting. And we're gonna make it hard for you. In Georgia, 52% of the absentee ballots, either the application or the ballots themselves, were rejected in this last round of voting. 52%. Because you have so many people. I have a friend and a client who has assisted living residence, and they routinely did absentee ballots. They had to go to the polls because they don't have driver's licenses anymore. They don't drive. They're in a residential facility.
How could these idiotic laws even have passed? Did we sleep on it, Mr. Rose? Did we miss it?
We didn't sleep on it. When the teeth of this Voting Rights Act was invalidated by the Supreme Court, that southern states had to have pre-clearance before they changed voting laws. They don't have to have pre-clearance. Now they can change them, and then we have to go to court finally to try to get a hearing on it. A suit that was filed after the 2018 election is just not going to court on February 7th. The wheels of justice are extremely slow. And so we got to vote. The voting is the answer. Next year in Georgia, we vote on our state legislators. We got to make a change here in Georgia. And they've already, and of course, they by gerrymandering the districts, they basically pick the voters instead of the voters pick the politicians. It's going to be extremely difficult. So what we got to do is be more active. There is a good, a fair segment of white people who understand the racism, who understand how unfair and inequitable it is. You saw them in the streets last summer. So we have to band together on the side of righteousness, because as long as those same people are in charge, not only has it affected me all of my life, it will affect you, it will affect your children, my grandchildren. We have to continue to stand up and fight. Unfortunately, I call it the black tax. We have to pay more to just be equal.
My goodness.
Gotta go to work.
Oh my goodness. So you did segue into something I wanted to talk about with the voting, those laws that have changed. And I know here over in Michigan, they tried at least 39 to institute 39 of those voting rights laws, but all across the nation, United States, it was over 430 of them. So that, you know, that should tell us that we did something that was so vitally important. We did change the dynamics of the democracy, of the democratic process, that folk had to come together to stop us. But here's the deal. They said it, that they have to do this so that 2020 won't happen again. I read it in black and white print. The Republicans were speaking about it very boldly on television and all of those sorts of things. And so to have this to happen, you know, I'm a fighter, Mr. Rose, but sometimes I get traumatized and tired.
Listen, you can't afford to be tired. I'm a baby boomer. I'm not tired. Was that old song? I don't feel no ways tired.
Listen, I just have to tell the truth. Doesn't mean I'm going to give up.
Yeah.
So I still got that fire and fight, but I'm just saying, my goodness, my hands go up and say, when will it ever end or quit? But you know, it probably won't. And so this is, if you got to be in it to win it, basically, you know.
Yeah, and you have to refuse to be mistreated.
Yeah.
I refuse to be mistreated. I will not ride on the back of the bus.
Yeah, I get you. Me either. If I choose to sit back there, it's because it's my choice, not because I'm made to do it.
But
so
not because I'm relegated to do that.
So let's talk about your organization. You had a part in the 2 senators that got elected in the last election. And certainly my shero, Stacey Abrams, definitely elevated her profile. You know, she's a bad mama jamma, as you know, old school would say. So should she run for governor? Because it seems the governor of Atlanta is in the pockets of the former president and is having some issues, but still nobody's coming out against the former, you know, president. So what's going on with Stacey Abrams?
Well, I'm not a confidant of Stacey Abrams. I understand that she should be announcing this month, that she would announce in December. I hope so. I hope so. But it's going to take turnout. You know, the Atlanta NAACP led a coalition of NAACP branches across the state in collaboration with other organizations, including New Georgia Project, founded by Stacey Abrams, Georgia Coalition for People's Agenda, the Prince Hall Masons, the Divine Nine, the Urban League, Black Votes Matter, to work on voter turnout. And in that voter turnout, people were able to make better choices. We have to continue that work, and we have to expand that work. We have to, on some of these issues, we have to do just like that prosecutor did in Glenn County, in Brunswick, and not focus on the race, but focus on the inequities in general. Because if they can take away our rights, they will take away your white rights as well. And so we have to make it a moral issue and a straight business issue versus a racial issue. That's what that prosecutor did successfully. That's what we have to do. For example, the Congress people who voted to not accept the elections of Georgia. We had Andrew Clyde, we got they Republicans. We can't vote, we can't attack them on the racial issue. We got to attack them on the fact that they were being totally unpatriotic, that they were trying to overthrow the United States of America. Not that it was a black issue, but it's a issue of patriotism. That's how we have to attack them. And I think if we do that collectively, collaboratively, we will have a different outcome in these elections.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, Mr. Rhodes, people are trying to, what I want to say, lack of a better word, stamp out and play down what happened January 6th, that insurrection. It happened.
Denial, right? They're in denial about it.
In denial, in denial about what you see, right in front of your eyes. We saw the anger, the hostility, the aggressiveness of them to really want to do that. And hopefully with the education about the moral compass that you're talking about, that will definitely be built into getting other people to see if it happens, if things are turned in a different manner, then your rights are going to be impacted. It's not only going to be us, as you said, but democracy in itself, is going to be turned into a different pathway. So that's good. Long answer for this conversation. Let's move on to what's the next project for Atlanta's NAACP? What's the next major project that you have?
Well, excuse me. So we have NAACP branches across this country have Emancipation Day celebrate ceremonies. We call it, some people call it Jubilee Day. So January 1st, we'll kick off the year with our Jubilee Day service. We've had in the past Congressman Hank Johnson, National Board President Rosin Brock, Speaker. We're trying to get David Scott to speak for us this year. We'll know better about his schedule. And after that, we're going to take that study that we commissioned from Howard University and attack the communities to re-educate them, to re-energize them, to explain why voting is so important and why they are essential. We are essential to our own freedom. And that would be, that's where we will be going first part of the year. In Georgia, we'll have judicial elections in May, and then we'll have the primaries for state offices, including the governor and state legislators that we will be involved with. But we have to continue to get the vote out. We have, I think the state of Georgia is getting close to be a majority minority state. And there are counties obviously around Atlanta that already are. But we have to band together with other people who are oppressed and people who are sympathetic to the oppressed to try to make some changes politically. Like it or not, politics is what makes a difference in every facet of our lives. Where the school board money is spent, who elects the sheriff, who appoints the police chief, who hires this person, where health, where transportation. Politics is what we have to do. And we should learn that from the Boston Tea Party. It wasn't about the tea. It was about who controls the money. Schoolhouse Rock taught us that, didn't it? That's right. That's right.
So Mr. Rose, before I let you go, I got a couple of questions for you. What has been your proudest accomplishment since becoming the president of the Atlanta NAACP?
Well, one of the things is how much movement we have had on Confederate monuments nationwide. I used a strategy from Dr. King and SCLC was to pick the biggest bully on the block and hit him in the mouth. So we attacked Stone Mountain, hit it in the mouth, but we got monuments moving all over, New Orleans, Memphis, other counties we haven't moved Stone Mountain yet, but we moved so many others because I knew it would be a long process, but we have made a difference, I think. I mean, that the military would even consider renaming these military bases is a great thing. Couldn't have happened, I don't think, without the attention that we put on the unpatriotism of continue to celebrate the Confederacy. That's a big thing. Of course, you know, the collaboration, the second B1A would be the collaboration that we did last year to get the vote out. I think that was a great, putting everybody together, working together, talking together instead of operating in about a dozen silos made a difference in Georgia. And I think it will make a difference across America.
All right, that's wonderful. So let's see here. You've got a business background.
Yes.
How has that helped in this particular situation with this particular leadership role?
Well, I'm a certified public accountant since I was 24. So that's a profession of analysis. And what I did, I looked at the NAACP as being in the business of civil rights. And we approached it like that. You know, we're not a social program, we deal with social issues. But we got to have people who can operate. You know, our programs director is a law school graduate. And so she can manage all the different kinds of calls. We get over 1,000 calls and emails a month. If we don't have business people and a business approach to it, we can't meet the needs of the community. So that has been a big difference. Of course, I have IT background as well, so that helped me restructure the Atlanta NAACP my first year. We redid the website, redid social media, where people could pay and donate online, information online. You have to communicate, and you gotta have some money. I mean, everything costs money. You know, we got rent to pay, you know, internet, and you know, supplies and personnel. So I think my business background has been essential in getting us where we need to be. But I had a model. The Memphis NAACP I joined at 13, its president was the only Black CPA in the state of Tennessee. So I learned early that you have to approach it from a business standpoint.
Wow, that's genius. I like it. That's genius. Now we tapped this a little bit, and before I let you go, I see that Atlanta does have a new mayor, and the person is younger. And so, what are your thoughts, you know, concerning his leadership role? Because that's a very, very high-profile position.
It is indeed. I'm very supportive of this mayor. He was a city councilman. He won. He had served 2 terms. This is the end of his 2nd term. First time he beat a sitting incumbent in a citywide race. 4 years ago, he had no opposition, and he had his name recognition was low. But he had worked with us on several issues. When I called him, he answered. There was a move to name a park in Atlanta after a Confederate major, right in the center of Atlanta, in the neighborhood where Du Bois lived, where Maynard Jackson lived, you know, where Julian Bond grew up. And so he was quite helpful in that. I think he's going to be a great mayor. He's a native Atlanta, Georgia Tech grad. We members of the same fraternity. He was we both Kappas. He was a Kappa at Georgia Tech, the Polmark. He was the leader of his chapter there. So I look forward to it. We also elected 5 other councils, district people who have been sympathetic and communicative, and we believe we can work with them. So we think it's going to be a revolution in Atlanta, akin like when Maynard Jackson was elected in 1973.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm hopeful, I'm smiling, because as we were talking a little bit earlier, change is happening. It's on the way and it's happening, but we just have to stick with it.
Right. And we have to make change happen. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
You know, we sit back, it'll be the same. You know, it cannot be the same. We must change. Every system in America is racist, rooted in racism. We have to change every system.
All right.
All right.
We're going to drop the mic right there. Mr. Richard Rose, you are the president of Atlanta's NAACP. Thank you so much, sir, for hanging out with me today with Urban Interest. And hopefully we can come back, you know, somewhere down the line and check in with you to see what else is going on.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed it.
All right. Have a great day, and we'll talk with you later.
Take care.
All right. Listen, everyone, that was Mr. Richard Rose. He is the president of Atlanta's NAACP. And as you can see, he is making change. They're making change. They're in this to win this. We have to dismantle this racist system in all areas. And the NAACP is on their job with trying to do that and moving forward with some things. So listen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll wrap up this segment of Urban Interest.
Because we have been deceived. We have been told we are in a democracy where everybody is equal. The truth and the reality is that we are in a system of racism, white supremacy. See, we're told that the system of democracy has imperfections. No, we are in a system of white supremacy that has been perfected. And that's why we keep staying basically in the same position. And as long as we don't understand we're dealing with a system, every week we just complain another black man has been shot, another black man has been killed. You say, oh, 10 over there, 3 over there. Oh, well, let's add up the statistics and somebody will run and complain about it. But if it's happening over and over again, that implies intentionality. And I would have Neely Fuller lecture every Monday night from 8 until 1 o'clock in the morning. And it would be students and people from the community. And Mr. Fuller used to talk about the system of racism, white supremacy, is going to have black men wearing dresses. And now this is 1970, about 72, 73, and that sounded so far out. Nobody, you know, what's he talking about? What has recently happened at Morehouse College? The president of Morehouse College had to announce and lay down the law that the black male students, those who are so inclined, could not wear high-heel shoes, could not wear dresses and carry pocketbooks. Now this is 2010. That if the system, see, in other words, we have to keep system about white genetic survival. This is what the system is about. And the system is working 24/7. If I turn the black male into a female, can I relax about the fear of white genetic survival? Absolutely.
Today, we bring you the first part of our global broadcast exclusive conversation.
The streets of Tahrir have once again been filled.
Key issues here at the United Nations Climate Change Conference remain unresolved.
Police are saying the protesters to move further and further away.
I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!
All right, everyone, that wraps up our segment for Urban Interest. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Again, salute the phenomenal woman of Josephine Baker, and her legacy is symbolic now, and it's in Paris. So kudos to that. And then also televangelist Marcus Lamb, Daystar Television Network. He has passed from COVID-19. And again, he was the one that says that vaccine mandates were a sin against God. And now he's no longer here because he took the wrong medication or the wrong pathway in healing himself. Come on, people, you have to do your research with this particular situation. And then that tragic happenstance over in Oxford, over in Michigan, at a high school student shot and killed 3 people. There are many people who are, wounded. Why did he do it? What happened? And then having, I don't know, was it an AKA, some type of assault rifle, assault weapon? We have to know that these mass shootings, that they can happen anywhere, and it's happened here in Michigan. And now we're added to this list of these mass shootings that have happened across the United States. We surely enjoyed our conversation with Mr. Richard Rose, who is the NAACP president of the Atlanta region, gave us some good information about the case of Ahmaud Arbery, as well as they have a new mayor. And that is a young man by the name of Andre Dickens. And so let me correct that, it was a handgun that the student used to do the atrocious act over in Oxford area of Michigan. All right, you can connect with us on Instagram at urban.interest or on DetroitIPTV.com or our UIN broadcast network. Stay connected with us. We will be back Friday with guests as well as stories. Have a great day.